Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to 5 summer foods that you only encounter after moving to America. Now this is going to be an interesting one because I would have thought that food-wise, like summer food-wise specifically, what difference would there really be between the US and the UK? Similar cultures, similar, all of that stuff. So food-wise, we eat the same stuff as well. We eat pizza, Chinese, takeaways. Mexican is obviously more prevalent in the US, but still, we pretty much eat the same type of stuff. Whereas Lost in the Pond, love his channel. He's always good at finding the things that you would never think that exist in the US versus what we have here. So I'm intrigued to see what he's got on this list. So yeah, this should be an interesting one. So let's do it.
We here at Lost in the Pond didn't have all of the ingredients, so we made our own terrible version. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And one of those memos pertains to food, specifically at this time of year, summer food. And with the 4th of July just around the corner, I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about how Americans just love their summer food. And I know, I get it, there won't be many parades this year, but if you're anything like me on the 4th of July, you'll lock yourself in your bedroom with 5 hot dogs and watch Bill Pullman deliver his presidential speech in Independence Day. But if you're the sort of person that won't go quietly into the night, I'm sure you're the sort of person that will still devour lots of food. Now, it's appropriate that I mentioned hot dogs a moment ago because there are certain summer foods, of course, that I did encounter in Britain. And hot
dogs. We've got hot dogs over here. Like, come on.
Dogs are one of them, or usually 5. For me, it's a weird addiction. It's like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop until you get heart disease. And so, as is usual with this kind of list, there will be certain foods that didn't make it. I just wanted to make that perfectly clear in case Uncle Toby was ready and waiting at his keyboard. And so, without further ado, here are 5 summer foods that I only encountered after moving to America.
Let's see. Yes, that's true.
The best way that I can think of to describe a corn dog is this. It's a poor man's hot dog. In fact, doing some reading around, this is how it was popularized in the United States.
Isn't it basically a frankfurter dipped in like cornmeal and then fried? Is that's pretty much what a corn dog is, right?
During a baseball game in the 1930s, the hot dog vendor ran out of buns. We've all done it. And so he improvised by using some cornmeal batter that he had prepared for some fish. And so they spread around the baseball stadium, much to the glee of spectators who didn't know how to hold them. And so the rest, as they say, is history, minus the addition of the sticks. But this was roughly a decade after German sausage makers had already introduced a concept similar to corn dogs in Texas, proving once again that there are 2 certainties in life, that most of America's best food came about during the Great Depression, and that Germans love a good sausage. As for me, I experienced my first ever corn dog at the Indiana State Fair. That day, bear in mind, I'd already met the world's largest sow and was subjected to 20 minutes of pig racing. That's pigs racing against each other. That's not me being subjected to racing against pigs.
There's actually a pig racing event? No way.
Again. And there were just...
I actually heard that pigs have the intelligence of like a 4-year-old child. Like, is that true? Because that would make them probably one of the smartest animals out there.
Lots of animals. In fact, on my way to the food stand, I was stopped in my tracks by a cow doing a And so the last thing I wanted at this point was some meat, especially on a stick. And I have to confess, after that first experience, I had a strongly negative reaction to corn dogs, to the extent that my wife nearly disowned me. But as time went on, and as my savings ran out, and as desperation I started to come round to the idea. And
how much is a corn dog? Probably what, $5? Maybe $10, something like that?
I came to accept it for what it is, fair food, as opposed to unfair food. But the one advantage it does have over a standard hot dog is it's not particularly messy, unlike this. Where can I start with chili?
Yeah, I've not had one of these before. That's basically a hot dog with chili, like minced beef and chili tomato sauce on top.
chili dogs. I'd sooner end with chili dogs. In fact, there's a reason I don't have one to show you today as an example, because if I wanted to get the grey out of my beard, I'd just buy hair dye. So I've got an invisible one. It's like that scene in Hook. And you turn it around, you start eating it. Sorry about the noises. And it goes everywhere. It goes all over your beard if you have one, and if you don't have one, you soon will. It's a mess. It's a mess, and it's my least favourite on this list, I confess. But what is it? Well, it, I learned today, is not one singular entity because there are many kinds of chili dog around America. But typically speaking, a chili dog is a type of hot dog that, in addition to containing a sausage, also contains meat sauce. And people usually
looks pretty tasty, honestly. Like, maybe it's because I'm hungry. All I've eaten today is a slice of toast. So, yeah, I think maybe it's the hunger talking.
Sprinkle on cheese and onions for extra taste. And here's the thing. It actually does taste amazing. You just need a knife and fork to eat it. Word of warning, though, only do that if you're willing to risk deportation. Either way, you're unlikely to find the chili dog in the UK. Oh, I just realized we didn't do the joke about how chili dogs are not the same thing as freezing canines.
Chili dogs.
One way that I endeared myself to my Midwestern chums, other than wielding my accent and my dimples, is that I absolutely love the pork tenderloin sandwich. And when you think about it, this is quite extraordinary because A, I'm not from the Midwest, and B, I was subjected to the Piglet Olympics. But when I moved to the state of Indiana in 2008, the pork tenderloin, both the phrase and the concept, was alien to me. It turns out in hindsight that it's also alien to a lot
In hindsight?
of Americans, and that's because the pork tenderloin is indigenous to the Midwest. Indigenous was the wrong word, wasn't it? Basically, a pork tenderloin sandwich, as you may have guessed, is usually a deep-fried pork loin on a bun. God help us if baseball vendors run out of tenderloin buns. But, and this could be my nostalgic bias toward Indiana where they are believed to have originated, I bloody love them. And while you can probably eat them all year round, they are best served in the sweltering heat of a 4th of July parade or a state fair.
What does pork tenderloin taste like? Do you guys have like gammon in America, like a pork gammon steak? Is it a similar taste to that, or like a pork chop? Like, is it more like ham?
Or Studio 81.
Yeah, we don't have root
Dear
beer
Uncle
either.
Toby, I know that root beer is technically a drink and not a food. The word drink wouldn't fit succinctly within the title of this video. Yes, root beer is an example of a summer drink that I only encountered after moving to America. But it's also an example of one of those things in hindsight that exists in England.
Does
I
it?
just didn't know about it. And there's a reason for that. It's no way near as popular there as it is here. Midwest just felt I can only think it was too many pork tenderloins. Perhaps the most recognizable brand of root beer in America is A&W, which does not stand for Alice and Wonderland because that's not the name of the book. What I do know is that it is a drink based on the sassafras root.
What is it like? What's the root? Where is it like? Does it taste like ginger ale? Like, is it a similar kind of drink? Because that's what I imagine it to be.
What is it? Sassafras root. And on this continent of North America, it is hundreds of years old. There's verifiable evidence that Native Americans drank a sassafras root drink for medicinal purposes, which is why to this day it tastes like Mucinex Fastmax. And I'll always remember where I was and what I was doing when I had my first root beer. I was at Jean's root beer stand in Anderson, and I was drinking root beer. As for the one that I
Looks like Coca-Cola. It has that same brown colour.
prepared earlier, I already gulped it down in between transitions.
What?
Ice cream, but only when I'm in a field and there's a clown. Then I scream a lot. But Americans love their ice cream, arguably more than my British compatriots. And that's amazing when you consider that we have the
that
99
looks so
flake and the
good.
feast.
Oh.
Ironically, two things that you don't encounter in America. What
You guys don't have the feast. Hold on a minute,
Ironically, two things that you 99 flake.
I'm telling you, this is the best, like, chocolate popsicle you'll ever have. Solid layer of frozen milk chocolate. Then you've got this, like, chocolate mousse type thing. Then you've got a layer of chocolate with... Oh, it's just so good.
and the feast. Ironically, two things that you don't encounter in America. What you will encounter is America's own unique flavors. I'm not talking about those distributed by Ben & Jerry's, because that is very popular in Britain. In fact, and this is a beautiful memory, the first time that I devoured an entire tub was at my dad's office in Grimsby. I'm talking about flavors whose transplant to Britain has for now been put on ice, and not creamy ice. So for example, Rocky Road, which is perhaps my favourite ice cream that did not originate with Ben & Jerry's. It's amazing. It came out of Oakland, California in 1929, and it's usually a combination of chocolate ice cream, marshmallows, and nuts. And if on December 31st I'd foreseen the pandemic, I wouldn't have quit chocolate for the year ahead, and I'd now be stuffing my face with Rocky Road for your viewing pleasure. Some might say that 2020 itself has been a rocky road, so it won't surprise you to learn that that's more or less how it got its name. Its 1929 creators, Dreyer and Eady, called it that as a comical reference to the Wall Street crash. Hilarious. In either event, the world could do right now with a superhero, which is the perfect segue into Superman flavored ice cream, so called because it bears the colors of Superman.
Man, I'm not sure about this one. I'm not so sure.
Himself, though I am contractually obligated to point out that it's not licensed by DC Comics. We here at Lost in the Pond didn't have all of the ingredients, so we made our own terrible version. It's a combination of vanilla ice cream and fruity pebbles. I personally was embarrassed by this, nonetheless I did give it a name. I called it Baby Kal-El flavor. It can still lift up cars. And finally, and there's really only one way to pronounce this, Butter Pecan. Butter Pecan is without doubt my favourite non-chocolate ice cream. And the reason that I didn't encounter Butter Pecan flavoured ice cream in Britain is that pecans are not very commonly...
Is he saying like pecans or pecans? How do you pronounce that? Is it pecan? Pecans or pecans?
found in Britain. Here they make up two of my favourite desserts, this ice cream and pecan pie. So when this pandemic is over and you've moved to America, head on over to Baskin Robbins and get yourself some butter pecan. Also look up some alternative pronunciations of pecan. I get some funny looks. I don't know why. That's it for this.
Yeah, to be fair, like I couldn't have guessed any of the ones that he mentioned. I would never have guessed them because they are so American. Like corn dogs, never seen them here. Chili dogs, never. Root beer, yeah. So it's even though both our countries are so similar, there are definitely some dietary deviations between the two. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.